Okay, so you can see the enormous and sudden change of behaviour that came about in the group. If people's behaviour can change that quickly and that dramatically, and indeed disastrously, then we need to be aware of what it is that's so powerful that it can wreak havoc on people's intentions and their behaviour. Behaviour never happens in a vacuum, but always takes place in a context. And that context, that environment, has very strong conditioning effects on how people behave. For that reason, we need to ensure that we get the environment right, because as we have seen, it can greatly influence and virtually determine how people react and behave. Let's find out from the group what environmental factors in their case produce such a stark change in their behaviour. So what was it about that game, about that event, that led to such a dramatic and speedy change in behaviour from being like this?
But sure, I mean, you divided us. It's the way you set us up. And because we were divided, we presumed we were in competition.
Yeah, and therefore we concluded that we had to win. Like, I mean, our own team winning, not the group.
Good.
You know.
You confirmed that by making us select names for the group that we automatically were differentiating ourselves. We became we or us. They became them.
And winning meant beating the other team. So we did finish on minus points, but if we had a more positive score, then we won.
That's really interesting, because it meant that doing well wasn't doing well in itself, you know, instead of, it was doing well as the team instead of doing well as regards standard, and that's what was different.
Well, you separated us. You made us select names for our group, and by doing that you completely divided us. We became us. They became them.
The overall purpose and goal of the game was never explained to us, so we automatically assumed that we were against each other, one against one another.
And of course the fact that a game of cards, you know, it can have its own influence and dynamic itself.
Yeah, and we weren't allowed to talk and didn't talk, and that created a suspicion and prevented a relationship forming between us.
They're all great points, so you can see that merely setting it up in this way led to all kinds of suspicions, competitions, and a small bit of aggression. Given that, what were some behaviours that made things worse and that confirmed the separation and division that Ray talked about and the competition?
Well, look, the big one for me was when we decided and we actually tried to be positive. That's the decision that we took, and they didn't reciprocate. So that had a really negative effect, and after that we just didn't trust them anymore.
Yes, and because of that, you know, it would have taken a lot and a long time to rebuild that trust again.
And once you lose trust, you can't really recover it.
That's great. Now, a question for you all. That was only a game of cards. Why do you think I did it? What relevance has it for you or for your work or your organisation and for what we have been talking about?
Yeah, I see a great relevance, because, do you know, that's how we kind of operate at work. We're divided up into groups or teams as it is, you know, like marketing and operations and finance and all that kind of thing. And we each have our own goals, and we set ourselves that goals and try to achieve them. So that was the difference, really.
Very good.
Yes, and most times we are out for what's good for us, our function, our team. After all, isn't that what success means?
That's right, and just as we didn't trust each other in the card game, it's the same. It reflects on how we don't trust each other in work. It's why we got so many meetings, plain and simple, I think. People might just take decisions behind your back without knowing.
Yeah, do you know, it's quite scary. It's quite frightening, really, because I've seen that happen in work, you know, that sometimes people are really happy when the other side aren't doing well, when another part of the team isn't doing well. You know, it's not nice.
Yeah, it's frightening. It does happen. And the overall goal gets lost, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
I thing that I see happening is that it seems to be that you need to be good at actually outwitting or getting one over on the other person or the other group. That's something that seems to be becoming more and more prevalent, but it's also being good at convincing people and misleading them are seen as important skills to have here.
Yes, and just like in the game, when someone pulls a fast one on you, you really lose trust in them, and politics and politicking becomes the name of the game. That's the important game in town.
Yes, these dynamics are present in a great number of organisations, and you can see how powerful and impactful they are. They can undermine and undo the very best of intentions and seriously damage lots of goodwill.